Hey everybody, welcome to Klaus to the Heart here on YouTube.com. I'm Jason Klaus. Certainly appreciate you taking time out of your day to give the show a watch. We are starting to do a few more of these actual episodes on the YouTube channel after kind of shying away from it. And self-admittedly, it's easier for me. I mean, in terms of my schedule, that the podcast really started to take over the various aspects of content that we wanted to put out there for the Close to the Heart project. But we started doing the Facebook exclusive videos, and those were pretty well received. And one of my friends who is a big supporter of all of my various projects, they're like, well, why don't you just do what you're doing for Facebook and incorporate it more into the YouTube channel? So here we are. What I want to talk about today is lines of communication. The line of communication is fundamentally the easiest way to keep in contact with somebody, good, bad, or indifferent. Because in this day and age, and we've all utilized it, we've all seen it, we've all done it. We have these advances as to how we communicate with one another. And the days of picking up a telephone and actually calling somebody to keep in contact with them seems to be passé, for the lack of a better term, because we have our schedules so booked right now in this day and age. We have 1,000 things going on. We have multiple responsibilities. We have multiple obligations, and we are spread so thin that we forget the basic fundamentals of life, really. And communication is one of them. And in some aspects, it's good that we do have the text messaging and Zoom calls and Skype and all these different avenues. But on the other hand, it kind of diminishes the actual act and the art of reaching out and actually making contact with our friends and with our family. Because we have these technological advances that the good part of it is we can bust out a quick text message, to get information to and from that is very time sensitive. That's a good thing. The bad part is that we rely solely on that form of communication, and it seems like there's not that personal connection anymore. That really comes into play when there's a conflict. That comes into play when there's an issue, and it's something that needs to be resolved. It's important to you. It's important to a loved one, a friend, a family member, because we have an avenue now to where we don't really have to face our issues. We don't have to face our problems. We can kind of be as vague as we want to, and we are very selective as to how we communicate our issues with one another. Because at the end of the day, we are in an age now to where there's just so much happening, and everything has gotten so overly complicated, and the line of communication is one of the first things that gets sacrificed. And while text messaging capabilities and things like this are good things when you need to get information out right that very second, or you need that feedback right then and there, it kind of disconnects us from our friends and our loved ones and our capabilities to be able to relate how we are feeling in the event that there is an issue. I know this firsthand. I've done this firsthand because in my case, and I know that there are other instances like this. Um, I'm not I know this is going to sound really weird, but I am not a very good um, speaker when it comes to dealing with an issue, animosity, any kind of controversy or anything like that, because I tend to get frustrated. And when I get frustrated and I can't enunciate exactly what I'm trying to relay, um, defense mechanisms kick in as far as I'm concerned, and it kind of takes me off the beaten path of what I'm trying to relay. I've always been a better writer than I have been a speaker. And I know that's going to sound really stupid when you look at things like this, but it is what it is. And a lot of us, we just don't want to deal with confrontation. On the other end of that spectrum, you have people who do not know how to properly communicate what they're feeling, and everything becomes very volatile, very heated, very quickly. Um, that's the downside of having these types of forms of communication, because we do not have that opportunity to continue to practice our art of communication and how we relay our feelings to the ones that we care about. Especially in terms of things that are going wrong, in things that there's a disagreement, there's an argument, there's something isn't right, something it doesn't feel right, there's a disconnect somewhere or another. That's why I think I think it's very important that we continue to practice the way we communicate with one another verbally, one-on-one, intimately, for the lack of a better term. If there is an issue with a friend, somebody that you really care about, somebody that means something to you, if you are ever expected to get past this hump, you need to communicate how you're feeling, and vice versa. So there's that feedback, because maybe they're going through things that you don't know about. Maybe you're going through things that they don't know about. We assume, because we have these capabilities and we have been friends for such a long time, or you're part of the same family, we assume that people are just going to pick up on our mannerisms, and we kind of throw out these feelers, for the lack of a better term, for them to initiate conversation so that you don't have to. What's wrong? What's going on? Why are you acting like this? Things like this. What I have found that is, when you try to relay how you're feeling and you're not getting the words out adequately, that is really that is really trying to get to the root of the problem, you get frustrated. And when frustration sets in, it really starts to become an issue, because you start to shut down. You start to get angry. And it just adds another layer to the conflict, and you're getting nowhere. And in those cases, it is important to hit the pause button, take a step back, take a deep breath, step back forward, and try it again. If the person on the other end of the controversy, issue, or conflict, if you mean anything to them, they will understand. But as important as it is to communicate what you're feeling, it's just as important, if not more so, that you listen to what's being told back to you. That's how communication works. And if there's not a give or take thing, and it becomes a one-sided conversation, you're not going to get very far. You'll get to about the halfway point. But there's still going to be unresolved issues, and you're not going to be able to get out everything that you feel like you need to get out. But at the same time, you have to allow the other person to respond to what you're saying, and for them to communicate too. And if it becomes a thing to where you start feeling the conversation getting a little heated, a little bit volatile, there's friction right there. Allow them to take the time to step back, take a deep breath, digest what they've been told, and give them the ample opportunity to respond that you would expect as you're trying to relay how you're feeling. It's very basic. It's very fundamental. And it's one of those things that, it gets lost, because and there could be a number of reasons why. It could be a number of issues that, people don't know what's going on unless unless you communicate. So I would say, it's very important to open up those lines of communication if things are not going right. If you feel like something's not going right, you gotta let them people know, because otherwise there's going to be that elephant in the room every time you're around one another, and it becomes a very uncomfortable situation. And the longer that persists, the bigger the elephant is going to become, and it's going to get to a point to where it's going to be such an uncomfortable feeling that you're not going to want to be around one another because of the lack of communication. So my point is, if you are in a friendship, a relationship, or anything like this, and you feel like something is not going right, and you have these feelings inside that you want to relay, even if you have to take a piece of paper and write down some notes so that you don't forget these key elements in the midst of a conversation, whatever you got to do. But I've always maintained that a good portion of conflict and controversy and arguments can and will be resolved with healthy lines of communication. Just a couple of thoughts here. So with that, we certainly appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch the show. I know this is going to be a little bit shorter video, but we don't, with the podcast and everything like that, I certainly don't want to overstay my welcome, as it were. But if you're digging what we're doing, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. You'll get notified each time a new episode drops. And every Tuesday morning at midnight, check out the Close to the Heart podcast on the Anchor.fm app or Spotify. We are available on Spotify as well. So with that, take care of yourselves. Be awesome to yourself and to each other. And we'll see you next time right here on Close to the Heart.